Flipping Death is a very funny game developed by Zoink and published on Nintendo Switch. It looks like a platformer or side-scrolling adventure, but you should think of it more like a point-and-click puzzle game. It's definitely story-driven, whether you're watching cutscenes, hearing a recap during loading screens, or experiencing characters bantering back and forth during gameplay. The story is always advancing and the world is being built. It starts with the sudden demise of Penny Dowood, who enters the afterlife and is promptly put on substitute Reaper duty for Death himself, who wants to take a vacation to the moon. You may have already gathered that Flipping Death is quite the quirky title, and it's very charming and entertaining as a result. The entire game is voice acted, and skillfully so. This is a bonus that might come unexpected to the average fan of Nintendo games. The writing is top-notch, and Flipping Death's greatest boast is its impeccable humor and timing. Simeon and I have never laughed out loud so much from a video game. You may be tempted to feel impatient, as you can read the captions in half the time it takes the voice actors to deliver their lines, but the wait is worth it. Another plus in the presentation department are the graphics. Zoink chose a really unique art style, which is memorable and looks beautiful on the Switch. One thing I didn't like as much was the music. Sure, it fits the game, but there were so few compositions that the soundtrack grew repetitive. Something else to watch out for are the long loading screens in Flipping Death. A narrator will meander through a funny recap of the previous chapter, which makes it bearable, but you'll want to try to finish one of the game's 8 chapters in a single sitting, so you don't have to endure the same loading screen a second time. The gameplay is unique in that you gather souls as currency and spend them to possess bodies of the living, who inhabit a mirror version of the world. It's always interesting to try out all the different characters, find out what their move is, and use them to solve puzzles or just fling them around. There's a great variety of characters who become playable in this way, each with their own special twists and inner dialogue. Sadly, controls are suboptimal. Sometimes Flipping Death doesn't feel like it was made with the Switch in mind. Using Death's Scythe to teleport was a good mechanic idea, but never feels quite natural, as you have to use the right stick at the same time as face buttons and trigger buttons. Some things aren't consistent between characters, like holding a button to jump. However, it's nice that the developers included some touchscreen functionality, which makes using the wide map easier. The missions and challenges provide a great variety of things to do. There are also plenty of side quests in each chapter to keep completionists busy. If you get stuck, there's a hint system readily available, which shows you what needs to happen, but not always how. It's a good balance of negating frustration without making things too easy. Flipping Death is an appropriate length, which throws a lot of different ideas at you, but doesn't get redundant or overstay its welcome. For a second playthrough, it may be fun to come back to after several years, but hearing the jokes for the first time is the main reason to play. You could also beat the main story, then go back just to clean up side quests, which can be pretty entertaining, especially when you're tasked with possessing an undead llama and spitting on everyone. Overall, this game really is funny, not just during story segments either, but the way characters move, interact, and the things you can do with them. I did experience a bug that made me lose all progress while reviewing the game. Thankfully, it was in Chapter 1 and the devs were aware and already working on it. This game is one of a kind and is enjoyable for the story and humor alone. Considering everything, Two Button Crew scores Flipping Death a 7.25 out of 10.